Tempe now, where the city's Development Review Commission held a special meeting this evening to discuss changes from the Phoenix Coyotes in their pursuit to build a new entertainment district near Tempe Town Lake.
This all comes less than a week after the Tempe City Council voted unanimously to reserve May 16th as the referendum date for this project. Our Elliot Polikoff is live in the newsroom with more on the changes the Coyotes are looking for.
Derek and Jamie, the big change is for the majority of the 46 acres of this entertainment site. The Coyotes want to switch the zoning map from commercial zoning to mixed use. But as we've seen throughout this process, the impact of the entertainment district very different depending on who you talk to.
Again, to serve the valley.
As Arizona Coyotes attorney Nick Wood laid out proposed plans for the Coyotes' new $2.1 billion entertainment district, he mentioned everything from shared parking options with nearby businesses to where the arena, living spaces, and other amenities will be located. But more than anything, Wood expressed Coyotes owner Alex Morello's vision that this will transform not just the Tempe Town Lake area, but the entire city.
To create something that's extremely unique, extremely special, something that doesn't otherwise exist here in Arizona.
The proposed entertainment district will be broken up into two phases. One that includes the arena, practice facility, and smaller hotel, residential, and office space, and another phase that includes the majority of retail stores, living spaces, and the opportunities that come with them.
Our projections currently right now are there will be 6,900 permanent jobs. One of the things we're excited about this is that the range of jobs are pretty significant. You will have service jobs, we have retail workers, we will have food workers. There is going to be a mix.
That's why the Coyotes are pushing to change the way this land is used from commercial to mixed use, including nearly 2,000 residential units. The city of Phoenix says making this a residential district violates a nearly 30-year intergovernmental agreement between the two cities and the flight patterns for Sky Harbor Airport. And they're not the only ones that have concerns about developing this space.
We are going to be just horrifically impacted in a number of ways.
When there is an event, it is going to mess up the afternoon rush hour here in Tempe beyond what it is already.
So what's next? This was really more of just a meeting. Next Tuesday, the Coyotes, they will present their project proposal, going beyond the zoning aspects of it. And then a week later, on November 29th, the Tempe City Council votes to send it to that public referendum on the May 16th date. And if that's approved, the public would finally get to vote yes or no on the district. Jamie and Derek, back to you.
Elliot Polikoff. Elliot, thanks. All right.